Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over all of the books that I read in February, and I'm actually a little surprised by the amount I read considering how short the month was, so I'm very excited to share some of these. I'm not really positive that I have a lot of positive books in here, but we'll see as we get into it. It really did feel though like I was just struggling throughout the month with finding any reads that I was really obsessed with. So we're gonna dive right into these. I decided to change the way I do these a little bit. Normally I sit next to my like little TBR spinning bookshelf thing that I put these and like my new reads on and everything, and I randomly pick things, but I decided it would be kind of fun to like divvy them up and go through like my star ratings. So we're gonna start at the lowest star ratings and then we're gonna go to the highest ones by the end of the video. Is this dangerous because I tend to forget the books that I don't have physically? Yes, it is, but we're gonna see if I can manage to get this brain in mind to remember something. So we're gonna start out with the DNFs for the month. Thankfully, I only had one this month, but that does not mean that there wasn't another one that I was contemplating it. Anyway, my only DNF for the month was The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. If you watched my reading vlog with Dramione fanfiction books, you will have seen me struggle to get through even the first chapter of this. I could not get into the writing style. I felt like it was way too much of a joke for something that was supposed to be like a more heavy topic line, and I just wasn't really vibing with that much. Like the main male character in here is supposed to be this dangerous assassin that everybody's scared of, and then he's throwing out like stupid phrases like Duggery was skulled instead of skullduggery, and I'm like, excuse you? What was that sentence? That was just really stupid. The world building was non-existent in here, and it just, yeah, I wasn't vibing with it. I couldn't understand what the time period was supposed to be. That was really convoluted, and I couldn't do it. So DNF'd that one, less than a chapter into it. Yeah, I regret nothing. Then moving into like my 2-star reads, unfortunately this pile is a little bigger than I would have liked it to be. Following off the heels of that one, we have the other Dramione fanfiction that I read in the month, and that is Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. This just didn't have much to it at all, in all honesty. Like, this is about a young girl who is part of sort of the losing side of the war, and she is sold at this auction. She is bought by a family who has a younger man in the family that she went to school with, and he was obviously not on her side of the war. And now she is sort of stuck living at his house and like his manor, whatever. And a bunch of other, this has happened to like other women, some other men that were captured as well. And he starts taking her to these parties that they have, and you realize that like the other people who were captured are being treated much worse than her, kind of like a Handmaid's Tale situation almost. And she's not being treated that way. The weird thing is she never questions why she's not being treated this way. She never really asks why he seems to kind of maybe want to help her a little bit. You only really get the scenes of her at his house, at these parties, his house parties, and I'm like, could we get a little bit more, please? Thank you. It just, yeah, it wasn't really hitting very well. It reminded me a lot of some of the attempts in Alchemized with like the captivity scenes, but Alchemized was done just like 1,000 times better. Sorry, it just was. It had substance to it, it had plot, it had world building. This had no world building, and I was really bored. I was really bored while I was reading this, which was such a disappointment because so many people love that book. But yeah, that was kind of boring for me. Then I read The Choice by Nicholas Sparks. This is about a man who has like everything that he wants out of life, but this tragedy has happened in his life, and he is now like looking back on the years and how he met his wife and sort of how like everything started in his relationship. I didn't like this because it really had a lot of like cheating in it, and like the cheating trope, and there was no like apology for it. They just acted like it was perfectly fine that the two of them ended up getting together while her boyfriend was gone for like a week or a weekend. And yeah, it just gave me the ick. I didn't really appreciate that at all. So yeah, that was 2 stars. Then I read The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. I was really excited for this because this is like supposed to be a very gothic fantasy. It's about this man who marries a woman who says like, just the only thing is like, don't ever ask about my past. And he originally says yes. And then of course, you know, things start popping up that he's like, this is really weird, what's going on? And he starts trying to dig into this stuff, and he's actually living in this house that is kind of portrayed as being sentient and is like trying to help him unearth some of these clues. It felt like the author was leaning too heavily into the gothic undertones, which became overtones of this book. There were constant references to old like folklore and fairy tales, and it just became overwhelming where it didn't feel like you had any plot going on. You just had all of these other things that they kept referencing. I've never heard the phrase purple prose before until I started like looking at other people's reviews on Goodreads, and they mentioned it, which it's pretty much just like overly floral writing style, like very, very flowery, very, very descriptive, and it was just too much for me. I love a good descriptive line and a really beautifully well written one, but this was like, felt like it was trying too hard. So that was also that was probably like 2.5 stars. Another 2.5 star read is The Cellar by Natasha Preston. Yeah, I've talked about her before, about how she's definitely a little bit too YA for me at this stage of my life, which is my fault. I bought these books so many years ago, and maybe if I'd read them then I would have enjoyed them a little bit more. This is about a young girl who is abducted by this man and thrown into a basement cellar with 3 other girls. They're all given different flower names, and just sort of them in their story being stuck in this cellar. It explains why he likes these flower names, why he's abducting these girls, this, that, and the third, and it just felt like it was a ripoff of a Criminal Minds episode. It was very, yeah, just very derivative of everything that I've seen with any sort of plot line like this. The explanation for his behavior, the way that it worked out with the girls, like all of it. There was nothing unique in this to sort of give it its own spin, so I was really bored while reading through that. And then my last one in the 2-star category is The Shack. This is about a man whose youngest daughter is kidnapped during a like family outing that he went on with just him and his kids. His wife was visiting her family members, and everybody is pretty sure that she is unfortunately dead, based off of some of the stuff that they find through the course of the investigations. So 4 years later, he gets this note in his mailbox, and it's signed like Papa or something. I think that's what his wife calls God instead of saying God. So he thinks that God has written him this note telling him to return to the shack where they're pretty sure the young girl was taken and probably ultimately killed. And so he decides to go and have this like bizarre weekend that he is spending with God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, and learning all of these lessons about forgiveness, about faith, and everything else. It's trying to tackle some really heavy topics about like the idea of how could a loving God allow terrible things to happen in our lives or to our children's lives and to completely innocent people, and how do we learn to forgive people when they don't deserve it, and all this stuff. And like, I appreciated the attempt, but I feel like if you're looking in like a theology-based lens, it's probably not very accurate to Christian theology, so didn't like that. I also didn't like that the end of this, it kind of undid some of the stuff that he was supposed to have learned on this weekend. It felt like it just, I don't know, it really did feel like it undid a lot of that learning. And I'm also finding it really hard to believe that like after a weekend he completely turned his life around when he had 4 years to do that prior to this. I don't know, I just couldn't really get into that one at all. So yeah. Anyway, that is it for that category. Next we have the 3-star reads, which seems to be the largest category, and that's not surprising. Like, it's 3 stars, not bad. It's like a middle ground. There's definitely ranges within it. Some are closer to a 4-star than others. But yeah, first 3-star read is Every Breath You Take by Mary Higgins Clark. This is one of her Under Suspicion novels, and this is about a murder that happened at the Metropolitan Museum, and this woman either falls or is pushed off the roof, and her boyfriend, who was like 20 years younger, very, very, very younger than her, is the person that everybody believes is responsible for this crime, and they're trying to sort of reopen it and see who would be responsible. This has a lot of family drama in it, which is always really fun. Then we have The Dead Guy Next Door by Lucy Score. Her books are just funny. They're a giggly good time, and I enjoy them. This had some ridiculous writing in it, but I thought it was executed well. I thought it fit for the storyline in here, and it just worked. The main female character, her name is Riley, and she sort of gets premonitions and visions, and she's trying to ignore them very, very hard. Her entire family is just like a bunch of hippies that all believe that they can read tarot cards, that they can see the future, and she's like, I don't actually want this in my life. Like, my life has enough problems as it is. I just got divorced. I'm living in this weird mansion that was turned into like a senior citizen's house for people that can't afford any other homing options, and this is my life now, and I don't like it, and I don't need visions interrupting all of it. But alas, they continue to happen. She starts having visions of her neighbor in this home ending up dead, and that ends up happening. A private investigator starts digging into all of this. They start kind of working together and eventually like forming a fake relationship. They're just hilarious together. Their dynamic is so funny. It's absurd. I also love that this is set in like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, because it's very close to where I live. So it's kind of fun to be able to like hear some of the things that are referenced and go, oh, I know where that is. Or that just adds a new layer to it. That's really fun. So yeah, none of this would ever happen in real life. And that's okay. It's still hilarious. Like, it's fiction at the end of the day. I'm able to suspend belief and believe that like they had this massive car chase over the Susquehanna River into Harrisburg or in New York, whichever one it was, and people are shooting at them, and this is just totally normal, like that regular people would get involved in this. It was funny. Then I read, I had quite a few romances on the list this month. I read The Marriage Code. This is about a young woman who sort of works in coding, or like she works on a developmental team, but she does sort of like the desktop version of developing different things, and she finds out that this program that she was trying to put together is going to be turned into an app for phones, and her team working on like desktop versions of things is probably going to get disbanded because it's just not the thing anymore. So she ends up sort of wiggling her way into the top position working on this app development, even though she doesn't really have the background for that. She takes over the spot from another guy named Rishi, who was really looking forward to the position because it meant he could come to the States from India, get a little bit more money that he could send back to his family because of a lot of different situations going on with them. Instead, she now has a spot, and the project is now going to be in India instead of the United States. I loved some of the looks at culture in here. I just felt like maybe it needed to have a little bit more in it. Like, you have this strong setting of being in India, and the main male character is from there and knows the culture, knows the language, knows the traditions, all of this stuff. It kind of touches on the way that culture plays into marriage. His family is trying to set up an arranged marriage for him and his sister, and he doesn't really want that in his life, but he's agreeing to it because it will help his sister and his family a little bit more. So I was enjoying it in the beginning for that reason, but it really felt like after a while the only culture that we were really touching on was food, and like I love other cultures' foods, but like I wanted more substance to it and just a little bit more depth because the opportunity was there, and I feel like we didn't really take advantage of it. And then it was just weird the way that these two went from hating each other to all of a sudden loving each other, and there was really no segue into it. There was no natural progression that made sense. All of a sudden it was like them thinking about each other, like sleeping with each other. I'm like, what did we miss? We missed something in here. Like you two hated each other a chapter ago. So I feel like the romance was, some stuff was a little underdeveloped for my taste. Then we have just The Princess Diaries. This is like a low 3-star rating. This is probably me looking at it from the lens of a teenage girl and giving it that rating. And I don't think that's wrong of me to do because that's the audience that this is intended for. I found this in a little free library years ago and just decided to pick it up because I was like, this could be fun, see what it's like compared to the movie. I actually like the movie better. Liked some of the characters in there a little bit more. I liked the way the plot worked out in there. I love the dynamic between Mia and her grandmother in the movies, and you just didn't get that in this, so it was a little sad, but it's kind of fun to picture the actors in the movie in this. I think a teenage girl would really enjoy this. This is written in like a style of journal entries as well, which kind of made it a little bit more fun and a little more like a teenage girl telling this story. Then we have a historical fiction. I read We Must Be Brave. This is set in World War II, and it follows a woman who finds this young girl on a bus and takes her in because she has no family. They can't seem to locate anybody to take care of her. And it's supposed to be about them building this relationship. And then after the war, they have to try to find some of her family and sort of give her back to them because they're like, well, it's like, she's not ours. She's not ours to keep. We were just trying to help during the war. And I thought we were going to get a lot more around them developing the relationship within this family and then seeing the heartbreak of having to separate from each other. And because of the time jumps in here, you actually really didn't get to see a lot of them together before that separation happens, and it just felt like it was rushed and we didn't really get a lot of that connection that I expected to get. So that's why it stayed like a 3-star. I enjoyed the writing style. Originally, it was very fast-paced and not overbearing with the way that it dropped in historical facts and everything. But because of the time jumps, it felt like it started dragging on and I was just getting a lot of info that I didn't care about anymore because it wasn't this little girl and this new family together. Then the last book in my 3-star category, we have The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. This is probably like a 3.5 star. This is about a young woman named Anna and her fake husband, Liam. They got married during college so that they could get cheaper like family housing. And she thinks that they've gotten divorced because she doesn't read paperwork. And a few years down the line, 5 years down the line, he shows up at her door and is like, hey, by the way, we're not actually divorced. Thought you had read this, but apparently you didn't. I need you to come to this private island with me and my family to celebrate my sister's wedding and to convince them that I am married. That way I can get this inheritance that I've been waiting for. His family's absolutely terrible, just absolutely terrible. His dad is the worst person ever. And I just felt so bad for Anna the entire time reading through this because everybody was just so mean to her. But I did enjoy the banter between the two characters. Anna's just so quirky in a fun way, and I really liked reading about her and some of her struggles with her father, and then seeing her sort of relationship develop with Liam. I thought it was cute and fun, so that's why this is like a 3.5 star read. It's a good time. It made me laugh while I was reading it, so not a huge amount of substance in it, but still fun and still worth the read. Then we move into our 4-star books. One, I actually pulled an Audible and I just changed the rating for it while I was sitting here looking at it, and that is actually The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. I do not typically rate classics above a 3-star, normally because they are just written in a way, like a writing style that is really hard for me to comprehend. So while I can maybe appreciate the storyline, like I can't get behind the writing style, sometimes I don't really appreciate the storyline either. This one is written in a time that's closer to present day than a lot of the classics that I've been reading. This surrounds the Dust Bowl during like the Great Depression in the United States and is following a family that is leaving. I believe they are actually from Oklahoma. Yeah, everybody calls them Okies when they get to California. They are from Oklahoma and they are traveling to California where they've heard there's all of these opportunities for money and jobs. And they really just have no other option because the banks have taken the farms that they were sort of sharecropping on. I don't know if sharecropping is the proper phrase for it, but the banks have taken the farms and they have no other option. So they're all traveling to California, and it just follows the struggles of them getting there and trying to just earn enough money to feed their family a little bit each day, like one meal a day. And then once they get to California, the terrible way they're treated because everybody assumes that they're living this way, this impoverished way, intentionally. And then, of course, the way that economics plays into it when they get there, and it's like sort of supply and demand. They have so many people that are willing to work for so much less than everybody else that they are now getting like a pittance for everything that they do because everyone is so desperate. And it's an extremely sad, heavy read, but there is also a lot of underlying themes about hope and about the goodness in people. So many people in here help when they really have nothing left to give. And the mother's famous line in my head is that the most generous people are the poor. That might not be the exact phrasing, but that's what she says. And that was really definitely one of the underlying messages in this book. And I just really, it was a really well done story, and I really enjoyed this look at a time in history that I haven't really read too much. So that's why that's now 4 stars. Then we have Hate List. This is another really heavy read. This follows a school shooting, and the female character is her boyfriend that perpetrated this crime, and she is kind of wrapped up in it because they'd both written this hate list of all these people that just bullied them or made their lives miserable in one way or another and made things more difficult. And he kind of used that as the framework for the people that he targeted when he went to school. So now we are like a few months in the future from this tragedy happening, and she has to go back to school and start trying to reshape her life and her relationships and make amends to herself, her family, everybody at school, and try to fit in again. And I felt like it really handled some very, very heavy themes very well. the shooting itself, but also the things leading up to it, and then some of the struggles afterwards. And it shows a realistic look at the way that everybody might handle this and respond to it, but still did it in a very YA way, so that it was more palatable and easy to take in, and like not super heavy and depressing. I just thought it was really well done, so that's why that's 4 stars. Would I recommend it? Probably not, because it has so much heavy content in it, but it was well done. And then, thankfully, something a little bit lighter and happier than that one, we have Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. This is the follow-up to Every Summer After. Nope, It Happened One Summer. And you get to see these 2 characters in the first book. Most of the time you can read interconnected standalones separately and not miss too much, but I do feel like you have to read It Happened One Summer to kind of get a development of these 2 and their relationship, because if you don't have that, it does feel like it goes a little bit quickly in this book. But I just really enjoyed seeing them together. Their dynamic is adorable. In the beginning, you just get to see them texting each other back and forth because they don't live in the same state, and that's so sweet, watching them sort of form this friendship in that way. They talk a lot through songs and music and just representing how they feel that way, which is fun. This also has a main male character that actually has a lot of his own stuff going on, his own insecurities, things that he has to work through, and I appreciated that, because some romances don't really give that to the main male characters, and I always want a little bit more of that side in it. Like, it's not always the women that are head cases, like sometimes the men have stuff that they need to struggle through too, so I liked that representation in here. Another 4-star read that I don't own the physical copy of, that yay for me for remembering this one, is a Dramione fanfiction, actual fanfiction, not a trad published one, and it was The Right Thing to Do, I believe is the title of that one. Actually, it is written by the same person as Rose in Chains. It's just one of her fanfictions that wasn't traditionally published, and in this one it follows her, it's a Dramione fanfiction, so follows Hermione and Draco after the war. Hermione has like sort of testified on Draco's behalf to get him out of Azkaban, and she ends up sort of working alongside of him at the Ministry. She has always had a crush on him in school, and you get to see like Harry and Ginny trying to sort of help set them up together. It has its dark moments, but it's a lot lighter than Manacled, which is what Alchemized is based off of, and it's a lot lighter than The Auction, which is what Rose in Chain is based on. But yeah, it was just fun to see these characters together, and the way that the story unfolded, it's kind of hard to say some of it without it just, I don't know, seeing them work together and seeing their relationship progress. It's just cute. It's kind of fun to see a continuation of the Harry Potter world in a new writing style and everything. That's kind of what the fanfics are good for, is just going back to a world with characters that you love. And then lastly, we have, I thought I had a physical 5-star read, but I guess I do not. My 5-star read for the month is going to be Trust of the Emerald Sea, which I listened to on audiobook. It's so good, so good. I sort of read through the Mistborn series last year, like the first original trilogy. I haven't gotten to the second arc, and I was taking a break from the Cosmere, and I decided I wanted to get back into it with like a standalone, so I went to Trust of the Emerald Sea, and I'm so glad that I did. Apparently it has some things in there that do tie back to some of the books that I haven't even read yet. I don't think they're spoilers, it's just characters that you see pop up through a couple of them. And this follows a young girl named Tress who lives on, I think they, what do they call it? The Rock or something like that. It's just a small island where not a lot of people live. They're not supposed to leave this island ever, but her boyfriend kind of, like, they love each other, but they've never established that they're together. He is like the son of the Duke or something on this island, and the Duke takes him and is like, we're gonna find you a wife. So they leave, they go on this long tour around all these other places to try to find a wife. He keeps sabotaging it. Eventually the Duke shows back up and is like, oh, this evil sorceress kidnapped him from me and I'm not paying the ransom. And Tress is like, well, that's just unacceptable. So she figures out this way to get aboard a ship and sail with them to try to go and rescue Charlie. While she's on this ship, she comes to realize that she is now on a pirate ship, which was unintended. She's very much not a pirate, does not fit into this world at all, but she needs to sort of prove her worth to stay on the ship and not be thrown overboard. So she agrees to be, it's called a sprouter, and in this world there's spores, and I don't even know how to explain them, but it's part of the magic system in this world, and she starts working with them in just this crazy way that she finally makes it to the sorceress to try to rescue Charlie. and I adored it. Like, this is told with a narrator, which is really fun. He's one of the main characters in the story. He comes in and out as he's telling the story to give like his own commentary and just ad lib on stuff, which made me laugh a lot. It kind of reminded me of just like somebody telling their kids a fairy tale or like a bedtime story, and I love that style of writing. It's very just whimsical and vibrant world, and the magic systems that Brandon Sanderson creates are just insane. Like, I don't know where he comes up with these things. Each book seems to have like a different magic system attached to it, and I loved every minute of this. Like, the audiobook was fantastic. If you feel like maybe you're a little overwhelmed trying to jump into a Brandon Sanderson book, I do love his audiobooks. They're really well done. So that was my only 5-star of the month. A lot of mid books and a lot of like 2-star reads, which was a little bit disappointing, but you know, you gotta get through those to get to the really good ones and to get some of these off my TBR. So, you know, it is what it is. But those are all of the books that I read in February. Let me know what your favorite read for the month was. That way I can add something to my TBR that I might like a little bit more than all of these 2-star reads. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this far if you did, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.